Every once in a while, the universe does something that makes us question everything we think we know. It doesn't announce itself with spectacle or fire, it begins with silence. And that silence is where this story starts. It was early July when the first detection came in. A faint, almost unnoticeable object appeared on deep space surveys, moving too fast, too straight, and too clean to belong here. At first, astronomers thought it was just another interstellar visitor like Oumuamua or Borisov, a frozen traveler from another star passing quietly through our solar system. They called it 3E Atlas, the third confirmed object of its kind. Nothing remarkable about that. Until the data started to behave like it had intent. I first heard whispers of it through a contact at the European Southern Observatory. A cautious email about non-gravitational adjustments in an object's trajectory. That alone was strange. Space rocks don't make decisions, but 3E Atlas did. Subtle course corrections, micro changes in rotation, all synchronized with Earth's periods of visibility. When we looked at it, it looked back. At first, no one outside the scientific community paid attention. Then came the signal. On a humid night in mid-July, radio telescopes across the world, from New Mexico's Very Large Array to the Square Kilometre Array in South Africa, recorded something they couldn't explain. It wasn't interference, it wasn't random static, and it wasn't a malfunction. It was a coherent transmission, a short, deliberate pulse lasting only seconds. The frequency was narrow, structured, and clean, so clean it stood out like a single note in the chaos of the cosmos. By morning, observatories on 3 continents had confirmed identical data. I managed to see one of the preliminary reports before it vanished from the public archives. The waveform was too symmetrical to be natural. Embedded in it were intervals, ratios corresponding to prime numbers, a signature of intention, a message written in the universal language of mathematics. For 48 hours, the world's scientific community worked non-stop, trying to verify the source. The coordinates lined up exactly with 3E Atlas. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, the transmission stopped. No repetition, no follow-up, just silence. That's when the agencies got involved. NASA, ESA, JAXA, everyone locked down. Public databases went offline. Internal discussions were sealed under national security. And for the first time since I began covering space science, my sources went quiet. One of them, a data analyst in California, told me in a whisper over a scrambled call, it wasn't background noise, it was aimed. It knew where we were. Officially, the story died right there. But quietly, off the record, researchers started comparing notes. I met with one physicist in Geneva who showed me printouts of the object's light curves. Its brightness wasn't fluctuating randomly, it responded to our observation cycles. When telescopes focused on it, its reflection patterns changed. When the observation windows closed, the readings stabilized again. It was as if it adjusted itself to be seen. I remember asking him if that could just be coincidence. He didn't even look up from the data. If it is, he said, then coincidence has learned how to communicate. By August, rumors spread of something even stranger. The James Webb Space Telescope had turned its instruments toward the object, and what it saw wasn't ice, dust, or rock. It was smooth, uniform, metallic. Its temperature never varied, its surface geometry perfectly symmetrical. Then, before Webb's data could be published, the feed was cut. everything classified overnight. Through encrypted channels, I received fragments, spectral readings, density profiles. They all pointed to the same impossible conclusion. 3E Atlas wasn't solid like a comet. It was hollow. When I reached out to NASA for comment, I got the standard response: "We do not comment on ongoing analysis." But one retired engineer who'd worked on deep space telemetry put it bluntly. "If it's hollow," he said, "then it's not a rock, it's a machine." That was when the theories split into two terrifying camps. The first, that 3E Atlas is natural, an object formed under conditions so alien that our physics simply can't explain it. A comet made of materials unknown, behaving in ways we've never observed. If that's true, it means the universe still holds laws we haven't even begun to understand. The second, that it's artificial. That the smooth metallic surface, the trajectory corrections, and the signal were all deliberate. That it was built, not born. A probe from another civilization, one capable of sending a device across light years to study us the same way we study bacteria under glass. Both possibilities are equally unsettling. If it's natural, our science is incomplete. If it's artificial, we are not alone. The deeper I dug, the more the story began to resemble something out of a classified manual. Several independent researchers reported that after the signal, the object began subtle adjustments again, as if reacting to our response, or lack thereof. It maintained a steady orientation toward Earth for 3 weeks, before shifting course away from the Sun, accelerating faster than gravity alone could explain. Then, just as suddenly as it came, it was gone, fading into the outer darkness, leaving behind more questions than answers. Around that time, I obtained excerpts from an internal briefing at the European Space Agency. The tone wasn't scientific, it was cautious, almost philosophical. One line stood out: "If observation is reciprocal, then we are part of the experiment." I read it 3 times. The meaning hit me later. Maybe we weren't the ones studying 3E Atlas. Maybe it was studying us. Think about that for a moment. A silent object enters our solar system. It emits one signal, just enough to confirm detection, and then waits. Watches how we react. Our governments clamp down, our scientists divide, our public speculates and fears. If its purpose was to measure our readiness, it couldn't have designed a better test. This idea began spreading quietly among those still working off the record. The signal, they said, wasn't communication. It was calibration. A way of marking that humanity had noticed. A way of saying, "We see you seeing us." There were whispers of earlier detections, too. Small anomalies in the data from Oumuamua and Borisov that had been dismissed as statistical noise. What if those were precursors? Early probes testing our response threshold? If so, 3E Atlas might not be the first visitor of its kind. It might simply be the first that decided we were ready to know, or not ready at all. When I tried to publish my findings through conventional outlets, no one wanted to touch it. Editors feared ridicule, or worse, retaliation. "We don't run stories that question national security classifications," one told me flatly. The irony, of course, is that the classification itself was the confirmation. In September, one of my contacts at NASA vanished from correspondence. Another in Chile sent me a final encrypted note before deleting their account. They're not hiding what they found. They're hiding how it made them feel. That line, stayed with me. Because maybe the real discovery wasn't out there in space. It was right here in us. The fear, the silence, the refusal to face what might already be obvious. As I write this, 3E Atlas is beyond the orbit of Neptune, moving steadily toward the interstellar void. Its signal has not repeated. Its light is dimming. But every now and then, deep space arrays still register faint anomalies at its last known frequency, like echoes that refuse to die. We may never know what it truly was, a natural miracle or a constructed intelligence, a messenger or a mirror, but either way, its effect is irreversible. It forced us to confront a truth we've been running from since we first looked at the stars, that maybe the universe isn't waiting for us to speak first. Maybe it already has. The governments will keep their secrets, the data will stay sealed, but silence won't save us from what we've already seen. Because once you realize the cosmos can look back, you start to understand how small we really are and how closely we might already be watched. So I keep digging. I keep asking. I keep listening to the static late at night. Because somewhere in that endless noise, I can't shake the feeling that the silence is listening too. And if 3 Atlas was truly what some of us fear it was, then maybe it didn't come to answer our questions at all. Maybe it came to see if we were ready to ask them. Until then, the only sound left is the hum of the universe itself. Quiet, patient, waiting for us to speak back.